Hi, everyone, and welcome into the KREM 2 Plus Streaming Center. I'm meteorologist Thomas Patrick, streaming live just before the noon hour on this Friday, February 21st, for a weather impact alert day over this weekend. Specifically, we're watching Sunday as we are tracking plenty of heavy rain and melting snow all at the same time. So this will be the first time this year we get a flooding risk for the inland northwest. And to be honest, I had to think back of the last time we actually had a just more broad flooding risk for our area, because every spring we will get some river rises due to just kind of generic snow melt heading into the spring season. But this is a very early event here, and that's why things are looking a little bit more messy overall because of the rain plus snow melt from an atmospheric river type of event. So here's what we're looking at. As I mentioned, heavy rain, melting snow. All that water combined is going to give us a flooding risk for this upcoming Sunday. Looks like the first wave of heavy rain actually hits the area Saturday night. But as it just keeps raining and raining and raining, and the snow keeps melting and melting and melting, over time that flood risk does increase. So that's why Sunday is more of the key day than Saturday night, because Saturday night things are just getting started. Things will just start to appear wet. But then we start to get some issues and impacts and effects from all this water by the time we get deeper into the day on Sunday. So the 10,000-foot view of this looks like this. We have a atmospheric river that's going to be passing through the region here in the northwest, and the heaviest rain really starts Saturday night. And actually, the frame that you see here is more in the middle of the day on Sunday, and you can easily see exactly how widespread that rain looks all throughout the northwest, let alone the inland northwest. And as we actually zoom things out even farther here, it's that jet stream that I've plotted. That is the atmospheric river, which is a low-level jet stream, so it only hangs a couple thousand feet above the ground, or in this case, the ocean, and it just draws that moisture straight out of the ocean, transports it, and then when it finally hits land, that is where we get the rainfall. In this case, it's going to be plenty over Oregon and Washington, and we'll see how deeply inland it goes into Idaho and possibly even western Montana as well. So because the draw, or the fetch, as it is called meteorologically, it draws out of the tropical Pacific waters, and that's why you get so much moisture, especially for a winter storm system, and a very warm storm system, especially for a winter storm system. So temperatures might even be pushing 50 degrees at times over this weekend, as you will see. The first shades of this storm is actually just already knocking on the door for western Washington. Plenty of rain pushing into kind of the Puget Sound and the Olympics already. Actually, a little bit of snow actually just crossed the Cascades here. So if you're in northern or central Washington, you see some of those wet snowflakes. Don't be surprised today. I'm not expecting much, if any, snow accumulations even in our northern areas before things really start to warm up from here. But a bit of snow might be at the very edge and very front nose, the precipice of this storm overall. But the focus, of course, is on the weekend rainfall. So I highlighted that Sunday is really more primarily the day we would get any flooding, but the rain really starts Saturday night, the heavy stuff anyways. Rain, snow melt at the same time. I think it was 2019 and or 2020, if I'm remembering correctly, the last time we actually had like a big snow melting rain event. And I think in that time it was actually in April when that finally did happen, when we had that first big spring storm system. But this will feel absolutely spring-like with the warmer temperatures on the way, acting as the catalyst to this entire flood potential that we get over this weekend. So these are the things that you should really need to know. Just a few bullet points here. The rain forecast itself is above a half an inch of rain and could actually exceed a full inch. At the high end, I got 1.2 inches of rain between now and the end of the weekend. And the current snow depth being reported at the airport in Spokane is 9 inches of snow. But think about the mountains, which are some of the ski resorts have over 70 inches of snow on the ground. A big chunk of that will start to melt with the warmer weather on the way. And yes, that does include at the mountain level with our snow levels above 6,000 and 7,000 feet at times. So that means there's a lot of runoff. There's a lot of rain, a lot of snow melt, so that rivers and streams, they will be rising quickly. There are plenty of rivers that are already forecasted to exceed their flood banks. We're talking about Paradise Creek in Moscow and Pullman, Hangman Creek in Spokane County. These would be the rivers that are going to be unusually high for this weekend because of all the water. But one thing you can do right now is if you can shovel the snow out of storm drains and just clear any debris, that's really going to help things from a residential perspective. Because if that's clogged up, well, the water is going to go somewhere else, and we would like to avoid that going in your basement. That's where it's going to do the most damage, and that's what we want to be most cautious of. Obviously, I have no idea whose basement could and or will flood, but anything you can do to prevent that from happening is going to be a big help, especially for our community and our neighbors, and of course yourself as well. All right, to the weather, to our weather maps here. This is Future Tracker, computer model simulation. We actually get our first rainfall tonight. As you saw, there might even be a little bit of snow in some of these northern areas here, but kind of like a couple days ago when we had that wet snow where, remember, it snowed like 8 hours and like none of it accumulated in Spokane. I think that's going to be the situation in our northern areas for tonight. You might actually see a lot of snow, but we're going to be hard-pressed to actually get this to stick to the ground because of how wet and how slushy it's going to be in the first place. Temperatures just starting to climb above the freezing mark. And then here in Spokane, I think even our 11 p.m. temperature is still going to be around 38 degrees. So at that point, we're just talking about rain anyway. So this is the first little bit of rain, not too heavy at the moment. Now we get into the weekend. Here's 9 a.m. on Saturday. Scattered showers, mostly light stuff, but enough to keep the ground wet and saturated at minimum. No, still not quite the main event. Now we get to 6 p.m. on Saturday. This is where things really start to get heavy. When you start to see these yellow shades or orange shades on our future tracker, that starts to teeter more onto the heavy side of rainfall. This is where things are going to get soaking wet. This is where we'll start to see puddles and ponds on roadways and sidewalks, and flood-prone areas will now have standing water at this point, and that's Saturday night. Now we get into Sunday. Didn't look as heavy, but at 3 a.m., widespread rain. We get no break from this rainfall, and those puddles just get bigger. Those streams start to, the water levels start to rise. Here's about 3 p.m. in the afternoon on Sunday. More of that heavy rain. Again, the yellow and the orange shades popping back up on our computer modeling here. So now you can see how from Saturday night through the day on Sunday, things really evolve into more than just being wet. Now we have a flooding threat on our hands here. At the moment, we don't have any flood watches for the Spokane area, but that could change between now and this Sunday. We look at the total amount of rain. As I mentioned, 0.6 would be at the low end of our forecast, and then 1.0 to 1.2 inches of rain is likely going to be at the high end of our forecast. As you see, Pullman at 1 inch of rain. And again, Paradise Creek is usually one of those rivers that exceeds flood stage actually quite easily, especially in the springtime. So that's a lot of water by itself. And then you factor in the melting snow on top of that, and that's why that flooding risk. Okay, here are the flooding risks. I'm going to hide myself again here because right now it's just western Montana that is got the flood watches at the moment. And I believe this is coming out of the National Weather Service in Missoula. And it really looks like they're looking at the data from the mountain snow melt. Like I said, 70 inches of snow on some of these mountains, and if a good chunk of that melts, it really doesn't even matter how much rain you get. It's just going to be the mountain snow melt itself that's going to cause a big flooding threat. But at the moment, no alerts in the Spokane area or the inland northwest. Not yet, but that those advisories or warnings or watches would come down from our local National Weather Service office in Spokane. So we'll be monitoring that for updates as we head into this weekend. And I think one of the things I haven't shown you yet is just how warm it's going to be. The temperatures, the warmth is a catalyst for this whole event. It's the reason why it's rain and not snow anywhere. It's the reason why the snow is going to melt in the first place. High of 49 degrees on Sunday, and that's with an all-day rain. And you probably know that when it rains, it's usually cooler than what it would be in the sunshine, of course. Well, that really highlights just how warm this storm system is. If it were sunny on Sunday, we'd be pushing mid-50s, right? Well, it's going to rain and be upper 40s, and that's still very, very warm, especially considering how cold this February has been now that we've gotten well over a foot of snow on the month in total. And the temperatures continue to increase from there. We will get our fair share of 50s next week. You see Monday's forecast here at 51 degrees. Should be a little less rainy by then. And even all of next week is going to stay above average. I have temperatures ranging from the low 40s all the way into, or the upper 40s to low 50s all of next week. But Sunday will stand out as our weather impact alert day because of any flooding risk for the area. Again, basements that end up with a bit of water in them is certainly going to be likely with this storm system. So again, a final look at the amount of rain that we're looking at, anywhere between about a half an inch at the low end to more than a full inch of rain at the high end of projections between tonight's rain, Saturday's rain, and all day on Sunday. It's going to be super wet through the inland northwest. A lot of rain, a lot of snow melt, and there will be this flooding potential. So you can always stay tuned on KREM.com. We are always posting the latest updates of our forecast right there. You can also give me a follow on social media at ThomasPatrickWX, basically on all the social media platforms of the latest information there and throughout the weekend as well. So with that being said, we'll wrap things up here on KREM 2 Plus. Thank you so much for joining us. Hope to see you on the broadcast here at noon in just about 30 minutes if you're watching us live, and you can always see the rest of this forecast update on YouTube as well. So thank you very much for joining us. Stay safe this weekend, and I'll see you next time.